So you don't just show up.
Yes.
You don't just show up last minute and say, hey,
no,
I want to run.
You have to start ground game in mapema.
Mapema.
They start from, a lot of them start from Little League coaching. And by the time that you're running for office, you're someone who has been doing this thing. People have seen you for the last 15 years.
Kwanza parents have seen you.
They have seen you. Umekuwa kwa PTA, umepigana na watu. You are the one who was pulled.
That is true.
You're the one who goes on bus trips when parents don't want to be chaperones. You know, we have to basically give folks the ability to come in, use our platform and our audience to show everybody else out there that there's actually Africans out here who are running, whether it's a Tanzanian, whether it's a Kenyan, whether it's a Ghanaian, whether it's a Nigerian, it doesn't matter. Because something that I realized is that our West African brothers and sisters are so far ahead of us when it comes to politics or politicking.
Harvesting opportunities. Yeah. DJ Moshfire, from the moment that we interviewed Hulda, and then she won, and between us interviewing her, we saw that Kenyan media also picked up on her.
Correct.
Yeah, and they started contacting her to get interviews on Kenyan media. What do you think? Like we need to do extra or better as a show in order to highlight Kenyans out there who might be interested or maybe might be looking for direction towards running for office in the US? DJ Mosh.
We have a very unique platform, and I think as guys, we may not necessarily realize how unique it is. It's the folks who are from the outside who like Hulda coming in. She's like, you heard her comments, right? And what she sees versus what we see is the difference. And so from that perspective, if we take our hats off and put on the hats of those who are on the outside looking in, then we would probably even, like the way companies have a CSR.
Yes.
We would have like something like that for the community, because this is community outreach, community service for our community, our people and our diasporans, because as we always say, elections are normally local, right? And so if we are supposed to have that footprint or have that be able to put that stamp on it, then we have to push this locality, whether it's local Kenyans, Africans, or blacks. And at some point, based upon how things are happening right now and what we see, we really, really, really have to be very what's the right word, pinpointed. We have to be very there's a better word, but we have to basically give folks the ability to come in, use our platform and our audience to show everybody else out there that there's actually Africans out here who are running, whether it's a Tanzanian, whether it's a Kenyan, whether it's a Ghanaian, whether it's a Nigerian, it doesn't matter. Because something that I realized is that our West African brothers and sisters are so far ahead of us when it comes to politics or politicking.
Harvesting opportunities.
And having folks sitting in legislative seats or having that ability, they're the ones who shape policies. Those policies are the ones that shape how money is being divvied into the community, how businesses are being impacted, how the Chamber of Commerce is interacting with folks, literally to the point where you can, depending on what county you're in, you can actually get money to help you start a pig farm back home.
Okay.
But it's based upon the policies, settings, and the legislature and the people who are there, and understanding how all of this impacts the folks who are here, and not so much even the folks who are here. Whoever is, we remember we had guys here from the Chamber of Commerce before, right? And so those sorts of things start with people going in and getting into elective office, starting, with your local council, going on the board of education, your PTAs, being a coach for, the local girls team, and you work your way up, and that's how people get to know you, and they realize, oh, there's nothing wrong with this person who comes from place X.
Okay.
you know. So it's okay for this particular person as a member of the society of this county who's a voting blah blah blah, and for it, just because their name doesn't sound like mine doesn't mean that they cannot or they don't have the same issues and problems that we have, because their kids play with my kids.
Yes.
You know,
So you don't just show up.
yes.
You don't just show up last minute and say,
participate.
hey,
No,
I want to run.
You have to start ground game in Anza
Inaanza
Mapema.
mapema.
kabisa.
They start from a lot of them start from Little League coaching, and by the time that you're running for office, you're someone who has been doing this thing. People have seen it for the last 15 years.
Kwanza parents have seen you.
They've seen you. Umekuwa kwa PTA, umepigana na watu. You are the one who was pulled.
That is true.
You're the one who goes on bus trips when parents don't want to be chaperones, you know, for the baseball thing, and you're sitting with the kids, you know, riding all the way to Miami, you know, and for 10 hours, 15 hours, you know, and people see you. And so a lot of times when now they're like, we need somebody to represent us or somebody to go in and talk about the issues we're having in this school district, yada, yada, yada. Nani is here.
Now, you know, an interesting thing you made has reminded me one thing that I was told about sometimes even doing things locally. You know, like when the local sessions are going on, your local elected representatives, there's certain things that happen that that people rarely pay attention to. So when the local sessions, like your local city council, not many people, they usually have these sessions, not many people attend them unless there's something big, unless there's something major on the news. So what happens is that if you attend those sessions, so the people who normally attend are people in media, because they're trying to report what happened in the council. And because normal people don't appear so much, so if they see you there once or twice, people in media will try to talk to you.
Correct.
They will get your contact, and whatever views you have is what will appear in the local media. So once your name appears in the local media, guess now who's paying attention to you? It's those representatives. So that's a small hack that a lot of people don't know. During regular mundane days, wachana na zile siku when people are angry, something has happened and 1,500 people have shown up. Just on normal days, you know, like go talk to media, because media, they're looking for stories beyond what was said there, what happened there. They want to get views of people who are seated there about some of those bylaws that are being passed and everything. So that's a hack that I never quite understood. But it's a very interesting thing I found out. Again, you're tuned into the One Mic Show. The number to call is 202-683-4570. Press star 5 to speak. We're expecting to hear from you. We don't know who will be the first caller, but this is your opportunity to talk to Hulda. We're encouraging you to call early, because at some point we're going to shut off the phone lines. A number of comments here were coming in while we were having this conversation. I see Mwakisha is very, very active. But I think Amin has come back and said, and he's asking, je, kuna sababu ya kupinga order za Rais Trump kwa jimbo la Minnesota? Anasema jimbo lina haki kukataa order za Rais Trump kutokana na power, ama hiyo ni swali anauliza, je, jimbo lina haki kukataa order za Rais Trump kutokana na power yake kuwa rais wa America? So basically, Amin is asking, you know, like, does a state like Minnesota have authority to reject an executive order from President Trump, him being the president of the United States?
That's a good and valid question to ask. So yes and no, in the sense that, you know, some of these executive orders have protocol that they need to be followed. Just because an executive orders have been given, there's still a path to executing that executive order.
Okay.
So if it's rooted in you know, law, for example, the immigration executive orders, right? You know, I'm not going to sit here and speak on behalf of the general attorney, the attorney general for the state of Minnesota. That's who is literally fighting the Trump executive orders. And he's making sure that he is doing everything he can to protect the residents of Minnesota.
Yeah.
But what I can say is that as legislators, we are creating policies and laws within the state that do protect people in their homes.
And is that Attorney General still, is it Keith?
Keith Ellison.
Ellison, it's still
Yes,
him. Okay.
it's still him. And
wow.
you know him well enough to
Yes.
know how he operates. And he's about the people and making sure that people do understand what their rights are under the Constitution. Just
Yes.
because there's an executive order, we also have a Constitution that all of us swore to protect. In regards to this idea of controlling Trump, I take it back to the Congress, right? If you understand the structure of the U.S. government, there are three branches for a reason: the checks and balances. Unfortunately, we're not seeing that happening in Congress at the moment, and for me, it's quite frustrating because that is literally the cornerstone of our democracy. The checks and balances that are in place, so that no one particular. The reason why. The folks who migrated here to start a new union, to start a new republic, to start a new, United States, is because they didn't want to have a king, right? And so that's why it was our forefathers of this country created this branches to check each other, and we're seeing that Congress, again, like I said, is not checking the president, especially when we all know he's going against the Constitution of the United States and its people, and for us, especially the Democratic Party. Let me talk about the Democratic Party. We have a long way to go. We are seeing what the Republicans are doing. They have an agenda. And Brother Ali, we talked about this earlier, right? And so, it was disappointing, for example, seeing when the president was giving his address and there was one Democrat who stood up and spoke, right? And then he was escorted out. That was our time to also, all of us, to stand up, not sit there and act like,
to represent our protest.
Exactly, and really make a statement that we are here to stand up on our principles, on our values, and hold him accountable. Because right now, he does control Congress, unfortunately. And so we are seeing a lot of that impact on the average American who is literally just trying to survive, not asking for handouts, trying to survive and provide food on their table, or put a roof over their families. And so as a state, obviously we depend on federal government aid, and we are expecting to see a lot of that rain down on us in terms of cuts to federal aid. Medicaid is one of those things that we are, really nervous about, and how that's going to impact the population, not only from, families, but to the elderly. And so it's going to be a long year, especially in the state of Minnesota and across the country, let's be honest. And it doesn't matter what background you come from, unless you're ultra rich, all of us are going to be impacted by what's going on.
Okay, and we're going to be talking about later the response from the Democrats, because there's a lot, there's kind of a lot left to be desired. Some people are complaining, why does it seem like all these things are happening and there's no fight that's being put up? It's like these things are just moving and moving and moving along.